right. Well, Charlie Kirk's passing has ignited a complex conversation around death and respect. We've all seen that in the last week. Today, we're going to explore the inherent tension between Charlie Kirk's conservatism and racism and hip-hop culture's historically progressive, voice, if you will. So in the last week, as I said, we've seen people want to give him grace and people who just don't care at all. Mm-hmm. And with Charlie Kirk's critique of hip-hop in the past and more specifically black people and black culture, this reveals a larger narrative about race, class, and the American dream. So I'm going to play a short little clip from a long YouTube video that I made. And then we're going to go from there and, ask some questions and shit. He stood for a vision of America that was fundamentally at odds with the reality that hip-hop has been documenting since the 1980s for over 50 years. His was a prescriptive video of what America should be, while hip-hop is a view into what America actually is for many marginalized groups. And he stood in direct opposition of that. Consider the power of culture in the political landscape. What does it mean when the leaders of this nation don't just despise the music or a genre of music, but despise the people and the reality that it represents? I'll leave you with that. So with that, I pose a question, kind of like what I had there. So with hip hop's history of social activism, and even more than that, what responsibility, if any, do artists and culture commentators have to engage in respectful dialogue with opposing perspectives, such as someone like Charlie Kirk?
I think there is a responsibility, just so there is a level of pushback. A lot of times, what a lot of people didn't realize when Charlie Kirk had these public forums, these were fixed fights.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think people realize that. And if you don't, you can really go back, do whatever research you want to do. I'm at this point.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
Prove to me that he's a racist. Can you prove it to me?
Prove me wrong.
Look, he put his own receipts online. Yeah. And people say, "Oh, well, what about this?" I'm like, I posted a quote. I know I bring up Baldwin, and that's just the times we're living in. We can have a debate about whether or not grape jelly is better than strawberry jelly. We can have a debate on how this economic policy, but we cannot have a debate on my humanity.
Sure.
Like I said, that's not an exact quote, but that's the gist of what Baldwin said. And I think a lot of times, yes, we were with
not Alec.
No. I hope people pick up on that, but at the same time, I'm hoping people can kind of differentiate that sort of thing when we're having these kinds of dialogue. And look, you're trying to, I've seen a lot of white people trying to convince me that this wasn't racism. And it's like, don't tell me this isn't racism when, I've been black for 48 years and I'm pretty sure I have a good grasp on what racism is so far in this country. And the thing is, if it wasn't racism, you wouldn't be so invested in it. Every once in a while, sometimes things like this happen and you've realized how this country really feels about you, or, in general, what the temperature is. When I see them doing a tribute to Charlie Kirk before a Yankees game where he was not a soldier, he wasn't a police officer, he wasn't a fireman, he wasn't a politician, he wasn't even a Yankees fan. And there's been this outpouring like he was this public figure who didn't, this is somebody that's sown the seeds of hatred, but somehow he's honored before sporting events. And this is the week of 9/11, and so that's in its own way disturbing, and it shows the priorities that a certain segment of America has. And if you don't think it's racism, then how is it that a white person can shoot a white person in Utah, which is demographically, very much a white state, and somehow HBCUs have to go on lockdown because of threats? I just think there is always room for discourse. We've we have it on this show, and it's in a healthy way. We turn these cameras off and we still all hang out and it's all good. But I don't think that's not what Charlie Kirk was doing. I feel for his children, but because that's children that they don't have, we can't bring them into it. That's foul. When you say you don't feel sorry for his children, but the way he died should not influence how we feel about the things he said when he was alive. And I'll get off that. I probably got off of, I've been quiet about this whole thing pretty much up until I knew we were going to have to talk about it, so I might just be rambling here, but
no, I don't think so.
I think there is.
No, I'm just
no, but this is so layered, and this is about so much of this is about the history of America and how we really feel about guns, how we really feel about race, how we really feel about, the intersectionality of white supremacy and race and honestly, how we feel about, all of a sudden, people were disappointed that it wasn't a transgender shooter.
Yeah, they're still trying to somehow make it a transgender situation. The thing of the matter is, though, can't put lipstick on shit is still shit at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just because you dress it up and try to make it look better, at the end of the day, you can't tell somebody how to feel about a certain individual, a certain person. And one of the things that America needs to do is learn how to take accountability and also how to not contradict your truths and beliefs based on basically a situation. And the reason why I bring that up is I wasn't overly invested in the whole Black Lives Matter movement, but I agreed with a lot of things as far as why it needed to be done. Not the organization itself, but
the sentiment
of it. And it was hijacked by something called the Blue Lives Matter movement. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that was your answer to and I'm not even going to say in the individual. It wasn't about the individual that was murdered. It was about the systematic racism that's been going on for years. And mind you, this is during COVID, so emotions are running wild anyway. You're stuck in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You're seeing this shit happen live on TV, or not necessarily live, but you've seen the clip. Everybody knows what happened. And it was an accumulation of all of that. It wasn't that one particular incident. And they use his image. What's his name? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. George Floyd. They use George Floyd's image to propel that movement. And a lot of people were quick to demonize his character. Now, he might have been a Christian as well.
Charlie Kirk demonized his character.
Yeah, he absolutely demonized his character. But all of the people that are siding with Charlie Kirk definitely demonized his character.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool then to demonize somebody that was, killed by the law and making up all of this stuff. Well, he was in trouble, this, that, and the other. That shouldn't have mattered.
There's still people trying to run with the lie that he died of a drug overdose.
Exactly. So with this whole Charlie Kirk situation, they didn't feel sorry for George Floyd
or his kids.
Now the narrative is, well, Charlie Kirk was a Christian. He was a parent. He was this. He was that. George Floyd was all of that as well. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing about it is you have to be a certain type of Christian for people to pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, is a white Christian that identifies with Republican points of view, essentially, right?
Wasp.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So me not feeling, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, I agree with the whole sentiment of I feel for his kids, and you know what I'm saying? They still have to grow up without a father, essentially. But
white supremacist.
Well, they have a chance to correct that. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's exactly what this whole situation is about, is narrative. You said two words that really kind of resonate with me in regarding this situation. There's two key points. Narrative. One, they're trying to change it.
Yep.
And this even goes deeper into the Trump administration. They're going through, obviously they're going through all of these the Smithsonian. They're starting to take out negative images of slaves with lashings, and they're starting to do all of this stuff because they want to just kind of like clean up the whole image. But
They're
you also
sanitized.
they're sanitizing it, but they're also, you mentioned accountability, and that's the number one thing that America has never done and shows no interest in doing at all. And I think that that's really what this comes back to. Even when you watch those clips of Charlie Kirk critiquing hip hop, you know, he's not dialed in, obviously, to anything going on with black people at large, specifically with hip hop culture, but he's going to try to reframe everything, and everything that they're trying to do is, you know, reframe the narrative to just cater to their very pathetic arguments. You know what I mean? They're trying to paint this picture, and this picture obviously is whatever stupid debate he was having that day. You know, it's I don't know. It's really frustrating to watch it. And also, for me, the most frustrating thing is that for someone to say, you mentioned, somebody over here mentioned, like, maybe not being totally invested or like caring that much about this. Like, people are falsely accusing people of, you know, hatred or, you know, the dude from MSNBC got fired because he just reported this information, while the Fox commentators like, homeless people should be killed.
Yeah.
I mean, just there's like total mania going on. I mean, I don't know. We're living through a very, very strange time. I do think that there are healthy ways to have these conversations, but I don't think personally the right is interested in having those conversations.
Well, no, because you got to think about it. And this, like I said, goes back to, I've heard all these conversations like, oh, is this the death of free speech? I was like, I'm sorry, you're going to start here with the death of free speech?
Come on, man.
This was the violent death of one individual, but free speech has been under attack for quite a while. And, you know, no one wants to point to the fact that the Washington Post, you know, was going to endorse Kamala Harris, but because Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post and he is a large Republican donor, and, you know, because that, you know, for whatever you think economically, that makes sense for him because he's going to get a large tax cut. That's where you see free speech being attacked, is there's no editorial freedom anymore because these large corporations, these entities that are controlled by just a few people, you know, there are things, if you go against their ideals, if you will, their morals, then you're going to get shut down. You know, so I don't know. I think it was Jay Leno. I was like, this is why we don't listen to celebrities a lot of times, or we listen to them way too much, or why do we just automatically point microphones into these people's faces when, you know, they don't know what they're talking about or cannot give you what I like to call a follow-up answer if you ask them a follow-up question. You know, so I just think we've taken so much and put it into this one situation where it's a much broader conversation that we need to have about free speech, about what it is for us to still maintain the Second Amendment in this country, how we feel really about each other as neighbors,
and what racism really
and
is.
What,
man.
that's honestly where we're thinking. I think there are people who think, well, Charlie Kirk, this is the example I always use. He didn't burn any crosses. You never heard him say the N-word. So how racist could he really be? And you got to understand, those people who do those sort of things, those are the least dangerous racists, is the people that believe in the structure of racism and the ideals of racism by saying things like, if I see a black pilot, I hope he's qualified. By you, Charlie Kirk, being a junior college dropout and having criticism for Ketanji Brown when it was time for her to be confirmed to the Supreme Court. Now, mind you, this is a woman who graduated from Harvard with honors, but you, as a white person who dropped out of junior college, you feel like you can say something to someone who graduated from Harvard with honors, and it's validated by the other white people around you who probably aren't as accomplished as that. And so that's what racism is on a structural level, not really a structural level, but a social level that is dangerous and that is hurtful.
It's also to the point where, too, a lot of people didn't know who Charlie Kirk was until that happened, that being black and white. And people just decided to be like, well, I went and looked at a few of his videos and I might not agree with all he said, but you have to add that but in. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make it less racist or make him not racist just because you don't agree with those things. I cannot necessarily have an emotion about what happened to him personally and view it as, yeah, somebody shouldn't have got murdered. But in the same token, I can still be like, well, I mean, he kind of preached about these things. He said that through Second Amendment rights that people were supposed to get murdered. He pretty much said that was a good thing.
That's the price of us having
the Second Amendment right. You know what I'm saying? So he died for his cause. Good for him. I don't feel a certain type of way about it emotionally. Again, I only care about the kids, essentially. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, the whole organization, his structure, and how he only debated with kids that just got to college. There was one video I seen where a kid was lighting his ass up, but they don't show you that one.
That kid from Cambridge?
Yeah, he was lighting his ass up. He didn't have nothing for him.
At the very end, he was like, well, I still don't believe it.
Yeah, that's it. And it's not based in fact. This is a thing that I don't like as well.
Once the facts got presented, he had nothing to stand on.
Well, just in general. So people that watch Charlie Kirk are not intelligent and pay attention to exactly what he's talking about, aren't intelligent enough to dig and find this research on their own. They're just taking it because he is a good speaker. He speaks very well. So your research is just you listening to him give you stats that don't mean shit, that are made up stats, essentially.
I would like maybe push away from the intelligence piece and only say it's more so just levels of whiteness and indoctrination around whiteness.
I'm talking about some of the black people that have actually agreed with his stance.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly. I'll say this much, man. Was Charlie Kirk a racist? Probably not.
You don't think so?
But the ideals and propaganda that he chose to push was definitely racist.
So that makes him racist.
See, I'm not gonna say that just because at the same time, shit, you got to follow the money.
You ain't got to.
But at the same time, if you're following the money, you have a choice whether you have to follow the money or not. And if you decide to follow the money knowing that you're going to grift in that direction, then you're inherently choosing racism over not being racist.
Okay. I stand corrected.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I also look at this from two perspectives. It's like, I feel like he was really good at not saying the word out loud.
Except when it came to Asian people.
Yeah. Like he wouldn't say the word out loud and he wouldn't. Well, that actually was false as well.
That was? Okay.
Yeah. He was saying Cenk. He said Cenk.
Though?
Cenk is Hassan Piker's uncle who runs the Young Turks. He probably, when he was like yelling off stage, he was saying Cenk. He was saying Cenk.
All right, then I stand. See, this is the thing about debates and being presented with new information. I stand corrected.
Yeah. So he was saying the wrong thing. But he was really good at following the guidelines that I feel like a lot of white people
don't.
Well, they understand. All right. So I was going
to say, you and I can speak to this specifically. I already know where you're going.
It's like this certain level of indoctrination. I always explain it like this. My grandparents were a certain level of racist, whether they were evil or not, right? They just had that inherently baked into themselves. My parents' generation was a little less because they saw what they were doing and they're less like, don't want to do that. How do I not be like them? Well, I don't say the word. And I don't do this over here. And then they try to be better. But then it's like, forget it, right? It's almost like a lot of white people in general. And this is not white guilt for all you out there. I don't have any white guilt.
What? No, I'm just kidding.
It's whatever. But it's this interesting level of indoctrination, in my opinion, around not consciously, cognitively understanding that racism exists beyond saying words out loud and physical violence. So I honestly believe that there are tons of bad actors that know better and are trolling online. But I also believe that there's another section of white people that legitimately, because they've had no diversity background, never been around anybody else, they legitimately they can't connect the dots in those ways. And so when they see Charlie Kirk not say the word and not say anything that's blatantly racist, so Jay made a point kind of in a similar type of manner, they legitimately can't see it. And they have also no understanding of the differences between a structural racism or a systemic racism and a personal prejudice racism and those particular type things. So I think that's kind of what you're speaking on a little bit too, because you can perpetuate one and still know the right things to say over here, but it doesn't mean those things aren't running through your head.
Exactly.
But that's also, so there is a term that I learned during this whole process, and it's stochastic terrorism. Did you guys see that
Yep,
quote?
I saw that as well.
So did you okay, so this definition, which I'm going to paraphrase here, but basically what that means is that you use all of the language that is necessary to rile people up and to get people going in particular ways, to cater to certain arguments, all of the above. But there's a certain inherent level of plausible deniability, meaning that I get you going, you go, make the next move, hurt somebody, say something, foul, whatever.
I didn't tell
But then
him
you
to
go,
do that.
I didn't tell him to do that.
Mhm.
Trump does this constantly.
Mhm.
Charlie Kirk was really, really good at this. And this is the same argument. I used to have these arguments with my dad all the time. It's like there is a lot of inherent racism, but because it isn't followed up with the hard R,
Mhm.
no, I'm good. It's like, this is, I think it's really woven into the fabric of America. Obviously, I mean, I'm stating the obvious here, but,
No, you're not.
and
Well, that's the
That's-
thing.
that's-
You're not
that's-
stating
well,
the
that, I
obvious.
mean,
Yeah.
I am actually, but
No, yeah, for
but-
sure.
But
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
obvious to you if you have that, for
Blind
lack of a better
spot.
term, cultural blind spot.
Yeah,
There.
man.
Yeah, but it's just really frustrating. And the last thing I'm going to do is listen to Charlie Kirk's opinion about people of color or what they need to do or how they should feel in any capacity, because I actually know lots of people of color in my real life, and I know that their experiences and their feelings and their emotions.
And the stats are completely wrong.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
said
absolutely.
75% of blacks don't have a father in the home. And people believe that shit. Like, I don't know personally any black fathers, like, who I'm friends with that are bad fathers or who aren't in the home or
Just
who
don't
don't
take care of their
raise their
kids.
kids. You know what I'm saying? I don't know those people. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it happens, and there are people out there like that, but like living off of fabricated stats and you believing it just because he told you is crazy.
But that's the thing about the mouthpiece and these whole arguments that he would have. He would have these campaigns and these events, and there's no fact checkers.
No.
There's nobody. I mean, there's nobody to address these things. And again, these kids are 18, 19 years old, and they don't have well-oiled arguments. They don't. There's no statisticians back there.
Bullshit.
But at the end of the day, again, like tying this back to the Trump administration, because he obviously was a major supporter of Charlie and helped give Charlie the platform essentially to bring him up. Like, this is exactly what Trump's been doing. As much as MAGA doesn't like it and Trump supporters don't like it, I'm still astounded to this day that during his first term, he had more than 30,000 lies. More than 30,000 lies
And nobody.
that the Washington Post tracked. There was a person in charge of tracking all of that. 30,000 mother lies. That is insane.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And none of his followers cared.
No, they don't.
So to this point, like, facts don't actually matter. I know he was famous for saying facts over feelings, or your
Well, that
feelings
was
don't
Ben
care.
Shapiro, but it was similar.
But
yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
him. I've seen clips of Charlie
Saying it too.
reiterating that and saying
Yeah.
that. It's like, I don't know. This entire discussion is frustrating, and it's extra frustrating that people act like you have to pour your heart out or just be gutted by this situation. Like, he seemed like a pretty vile person to a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I don't understand why that's being misconstrued. I don't understand why he's being celebrated as Christ-like.
I actually
figure.
saw someone say, "Wouldn't it be crazy if he came back on the third day?"
I saw that
What do
too.
you think the
Whoa.
Democrats would do? I was like, now, if you don't believe this is a cult, there's your proof. And
That's wild.
I'll say is, because we could go on about this for the entire show. I would say to all of my, because you can't help it. You got friends and family who lean right. They may not go as far as being, Charlie Kirkish or whatever, but this is the thing that bothers me is like all this is coming out, and now you're like, well, we got to ramp down the rhetoric on the left, and all of a sudden, you're talking bad about black people, and black people feel threatened when this had nothing to do with us.
Nothing.
Mhm.
Charlie
Nothing.
Kirk, I'll say it, and didn't deserve to die, but he didn't deserve to be almost deified in the way that, like I said, he's being honored and on the weekend of 9/11. Didn't he
get flown in the
Air Force
Air Force
whatever.
2 or whatever?
And I would say to anybody who leans right now, if don't talk about political violence and what's happening in this country and not understand that the calls are coming from inside the house.
Oh,
January 6th, that wasn't, you can say, oh, well, that was Antifa. I kept hearing that, but I'm like, well, then why don't you want these people to be investigated?
Yeah, man.
Why are you lashing out when literally it's not anybody, the violence is not coming from some Muslim transgender, liberal college students. It's coming, the calls are coming from inside the house.
But this goes back to the narrative part. Like they're unfortunately doing a very good job of controlling that narrative and shifting the way that people think about this. Yeah, they're shifting
it's
the blame.
part of the propaganda machine.
Yeah, very much the part of the
political
theater.
Machine.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
also, it's like, whenever people who lean to that side, they always like to talk about, oh, we've got to have accountability. Where is the accountability?
Well, there is none.
So like, don't call for accountability for everybody else, but then you say all the people who participated in January 6th, you let them out of jail.
It's the can't even get it out. Hypocrisy. 'Cause I'm pissed off. It's crazy because they literally lined up to have the dude that killed Trayvon Martin.
Have him say,
Zimmerman.
George
Zimmerman to sign Skittles and that featured at like gun conventions and
Let's
shit
not
like
forget
that.
about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, him too.
Yeah.
They paraded them around like they were champions of the people, and now all of a sudden that we don't give a about Mr. Kirk. You know what I'm saying? Now it's a problem. Like
where's all the empathy?
You were tap dancing on the death of young black men,
kids,
and we're supposed to give a fuck about Charlie Kirk.
And let's not even forget that there was a school shooting the same day
Same
Charlie
day.
Kirk died.
Same day.
And they're raising these flags at half mast, but aren't giving any dams at all about the fact that kids are dead.
That's the thing. Like, that lets you know where their priorities are, because here were children that were shot to death at school, and they don't know their names. Not to mention, the political violence. Like Charlie Kirk thought it was funny when Nancy Pelosi's husband got attacked in his home.
Right.
Elderly man
and
the woman who was shot and killed.
Yeah.
Was who
Minnesota.
They didn't. When you bring her up, they don't even know her name and don't care.
No, it's like Nick said, it's like, yes, it's about the narrative. Like even Charlie Kirk's wife went on the air talking about how, and then, or maybe it was his wife. It was somebody went on the air and talked about how we have to stop sending our kids to college because they're indoctrinating our kids in college.
But this is the thing. This is why.
Then what would Charlie Kirk spoke?
But this is why this stuff is so fascinating to me to watch this happen, is because my dad used to say all this shit. I've been listening to this bullshit for 20 years. I've been arguing with this mother for a long ass time.
Yeah.
I know people don't talk about their parents like that. We were kind of like
understand,
that. But
some of us do.
All of this shit. He used to say all this stuff, and I'm like, you don't even know what the talking about, and B, at the end of your life, you're still living across from a trap house. Like, you had all the opportunity in the world, and you didn't even make it out. Like what are we doing here?
Yeah,
they
it's
took
just
our jobs.
See, but
name the argument. I heard it. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's why Charlie Kirk was so effective, because like if it was somebody going saying they took your jobs and he looked like Larry the Cable Guy, that would have been effective. But you put a tailored Brooks Brothers suit on a guy, and
he had a mouthpiece.
And he could talk.
Yeah, he could talk
had a
very well.
mouthpiece.
It didn't matter that the things he said were hurtful. It didn't matter that what's his organization? Talking Points.
Turning Point.
Turning Point. Talking Points is something else. Turning Point was targeting college professors, who once again didn't say that America was perfect from its inception. That was enough for people to be harassed and threatened.
They're being harassed and threatened right now.
Yeah.
Like in the wake of this.
Put in this fake database of people that didn't agree with Charlie Kirk's teaching, which is crazy.
If you're on it, take a screenshot of it and sue them.
Straight up.
So, but
America.
It's just a wild time, man.
Yeah.
They took that episode of South Park off the air too.
That's a damn shame. If South Park is folding, it's about to be real.
Yeah, so South Park did an episode probably about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. I actually was talking to them about it, where they pretty much spoofed Charlie Kirk and him. Cartman was going to like debate all of these kids and say, prove me wrong after everything. So after this happened, they removed that episode.
Which is also crazy because Charlie Kirk said that he thought the episode was funny.
Yeah.
But
now what you're seeing is censorship and people being hurt in his name.
Yeah.
That this is where the problem is going to come into play, to where everyone is going to be able to have everything they do is going to be dismissed or justified. Justified is a better word. Be like, well, we're doing this for Charlie Kirk. That's going to be their cause. The next time there's some guys with the tiki torches, they're all going to have Charlie Kirk's photo.
It's got to be merch. Like you go down south somewhere, you might see some Charlie Kirk merch.
You don't have to go down south.
No.
Yeah.
You could just
rural Indiana.
Yeah.
Rural Indiana?
South Indiana.
Yeah.
Well,
South Indianapolis.
Yeah.
that's true.
You don't have to, like I said, we always put,
not just south either.
We like to put things on the South, the whole Mississippi burning and all this. And trust me, yes, the South has a very storied history of its racism. But remember, the hub of the Klan was right here in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like we give everybody, we say that the racism may have been different, but it was still racism.
Yeah, it's at least in your face in certain places. Like you go down like the Virginia and shit like that. Even by Virginia Beach, there's like booths and shit that sells Confederate flags and Trump shit. And I'm sure Charlie Kirk's shirt will be added to that. It's like it's just more so in your face.
I think they perfected systematic racism here in Indiana.
Absolutely.
It was just the way they implemented it rather, down south with the whole Jim Crow thing. Yeah. So, yeah, man. It's about to be interesting, and I don't mean that in a good way.
Nah. Tears for Fears.
Rest in peace t-shirts.